Sure, guys? Are you sure? Yeah, what the hell? We'll do it. Oh, try this. All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yes, I would imagine. Yeah, we're live now. So that's good. Very good. We're live here on. We're live here on the TikTok and on YouTube. Everybody's welcome to join us here. This is 100 Watts in a Wire and episode number 433. And my name's Christian, K0STH. Steve is here as well, W7UDI. And Scott is here, KC3BXN. All right, that's a rock and roll jam right there. Whatever happened to that band? Are they're still doing it?
They're still kicking. Yeah. I haven't mixed anything for them lately because the kids, they got the Pro Tools at home. They think they can do it all their own, but
yeah,
in fact, them out sound like crap. They'll call me up and be like, "Can you do the mix for us again?"
Mm-hmm. How do you fix it for me, Scotty? How do you punch in a tambourine? Let me hear your tune again.
Fire up your digital turd polisher and make us sound good again.
Can you add tambourine in here? Sure. Yeah, that'll help it out.
Just add the cowbell, and that will take care of it all.
Yeah, more cowbell. That's what I need.
I need some more cowbell.
We're doing it live here in a couple of ways, so to speak. And we're live on the tubes where you can see a little bit more. I encourage our friends who are over on TikTok watching, who hung out with me about 10 minutes, 15 minutes prior to kickoff here, to join us over there. At least you'll see everybody, but you're welcome. Please stay in whatever place you want to be in. Hello to Mark Taylor. He says, yo, and W2KFG is here. K7JUS stopped by and said hello. November 3 TEL is also here. Drop your call signs in either place and we will pick them up. And we've even talked about maybe opening up the door and letting people come in here, which is Steve and I have done this in the past, and it gets dicey sometimes. You got to put some bumpers and guardrails in, but we didn't test anything either. Like we were like, yeah, let's just go, and we wing it. And me and Scotty are like, where is the button? What happened to that thing? But it
got interesting.
It's great to see you, fellas. I hope you're doing great and enjoying the fifth day of the new year, and it's been uneventful, and that's kind of how we like it when you get to our vintage. Isn't that right, Steve?
Oh God, yeah. It's we're standing. We're good. We're so far this year has been pretty good, and it's only 5 days old.
It's been crazy in the world. Like, I mean, things have been just right off the bat. We're doing crazy stuff. We're in New Orleans getting crazy. We're in Vegas doing stuff that's crazy. I don't know if it's more crazy or it's just another day. And I got to tell you guys, the thing with that, I woke up New Year's morning and I was thinking to myself, I heard this incident happen, and I said to my wife, it's odd, I didn't even think about the act. You know what I mean? Like this bizarre act that happened. I thought people are awake at 3:15 and on the streets in the morning. Like, have I hit that age where I'm like, what are you guys doing out at 3:15?
You got to be in bed and sleeping.
It's Bourbon Street, It's they're going to be out and up, and I'm like, okay, I guess I had never been there, but I'm thinking, man, I must be an old dude. When the first reaction is, what are you guys doing out there at 3:15 in the morning? People are up and thinking and doing stuff.
Bourbon Street never sleeps.
That's what I hear. Thank you. K7JUS has come over from TikTok. We appreciate you. And here's here. And see, we can throw that up on the screen here. Mark Taylor's here. He's N3TEL. He came over from the TikTok. Appreciate you guys joining. Don is here, a.k.a. Mitz. He's got big hands and a reputation with the ladies from back in the 70s, but I'm not supposed to talk about that. Speaking of this, and hello, James. James is KG5LTL. He's in Rexford, Montana, which, if you're on our Discord server, you will see from time to time pictures of his house, and it's amazing. Beautiful.
He's got it going on, man. That's a gorgeous setup he's got.
Yeah. Leonard EI2 Juliet Hotel Bravo is here as well. Hello to Leonard. Who else have I got? We got KT Money. KT Money. That sounds like a call sign has been redacted. Okay. And we've got
Radio.
we got Ricardo. He lives in Paradise.
He
It's
just
called.
wants to see the money.
Let's give me the money. I want to show you how to make that money. Ricardo, he's Kilo Victor 4 Oscar Papa. Hello from Paradise. His 100-watt ID is 270. Michael is also here, November 1. X-Ray Romeo. So hello.
That's a cool sign.
Hello, you all. So we have to start off with a little bit of a silent key news. I don't know if everybody has heard this. Certainly the boys have heard this, and we're sad to announce the passing of the Browns Motel is now a silent key. This was an adult establishment, really. It was a. How would you describe it, Scotty?
Well, the Browns Motel. It was an institution in the Baltimore metro area.
A damn institution, what it was.
We'll
That's
just
what
leave
it
it
was. We'll leave it at that.
Route
What you
40,
could do
the
is
National,
Around the
National
world
Road,
at
Route
the
40, the
Browns.
National Road. You stop at the Browns Motel, going in and out of right there at the Baltimore County
There
line.
was a bunch of in and out.
Absco River.
a lot of in and outs, Steve says, and I think that's true. And he speaks of a man of experience. Now, if you were a traveler coming through this area and you only needed to rest, say, 20 minutes or so, you can do
The
that.
Browns was your place.
You stop at the Browns, get $30 time limit or whatever, and you get in and out, so to speak. But it was right next to a park. I think Scotty went over there and activated the park and threw his wire out the tree.
Pastor Joe has activated that park as well when he visited town.
Oh, Pastor Joe.
He threw his wire out too.
Well, that's a good time to tell you about our sponsor. Thank you to Bioenno Power, the best lithium phosphate batteries for your ham radios. We appreciate you. Visit them online at bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNO power.com. Now, I wanted to ask Pastor Joe, when he was there, did he do the quarter machines? Remember, you could go and they hung on the wall and you put a quarter in it and then you bang it and the condom fall down? No? Bareback?
I was thinking, yeah, well, then there's the quarters
man.
for the bed.
Oh, my video is really lagging.
Is it? Oh, no, Scotty. What's the matter?
Yeah. I didn't put enough quarters in, I guess.
Yeah, put some more quarters in there, dude. Come on, stop pushing the wrong buttons. Anywho. Yeah, so the Browns Motel is an institution that's going to be, we've talked about it on the show many, many times. And sadly, it's going to be closing down. We were talking about things that we may be able to pick up there. This outside of the traditional STD or, the occasional, washable kind of thing. Sometimes you need penicillin. But Scotty was saying that, there might be a big clock there, for the timer or the big sign or something like that. Maybe, will you look into that, Scotty, and see what's available? I mean, if we could get like a glory hole or something, I think this show, just needs a Browns. I would hang it up. Well, shit, right back here next to my Emmys, the glory hole from the Browns. I don't know. I got a lot of problems.
Wow.
So yeah,
I don't know what's left. I was gonna try to drive by today, but I know they turned it down. They're doing a pretty rapid tear down of the place. It was fenced off, and all the doors had been removed from all the hotel rooms when I drove by last week. I don't, with the holidays and all, I don't know how much work was done in the taking down of the Browns, but I need to drive by. And
I'm surprised they took down the doors.
Mementos left.
So there must be some salvage value for the doors.
I don't know what. Look at the rooms they were out before they go in with the wrecking ball.
We're gonna burn it down. They're gonna be like, yeah, we don't even know what heals
Actually,
that one.
Howard County Fire Department does that quite a bit for the controlled burns for training. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did do a burn.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we all send our condolences to the staff over there. That's the infection, and the staff. Damn. James asked, how many gummies did you guys have? And I thought about this
Not
today.
enough.
I thought about that. What a great
all of them.
show. What a
I had
great
all of them.
show. It would be a good thing if we could all gummy up one day and, and do the show then. Could you imagine what that would be like? We just might sit here like this.
Yeah, pretty much. Dude.
Oh,
Wire. KT Money said no doors on the stalls at the Browns. UTV
anymore.
and Ham is here. Hello. He's KD9, Whiskey November. Victor, good Happy New Year to you. I hope everybody's doing well, for real. And we don't have too many of those silent key announcements to make like that because, But Wisconsin is checking in. We appreciate you for coming by. So,
Nice.
what have you guys been working on? I know temperature-wise, it's hard for me sometimes to even know what month I'm in because it doesn't really change that much down here. Although we're in January and temperatures have gone down during the day. I'm talking about in the 40s sometimes early in the morning. Goes back up to maybe 63. All the locals down here are wearing their heavy coats and stuff because their blood is thinned. Steve, what are you guys looking at out your way?
it's been around the excuse me, around the freezing level, up and down. Probably we haven't gone below 20. But a lot of rain and snow, a lot of ice buildup. So had some ice buildup. Took down one antenna so far because of all the ice buildup. But yeah, it was that temporary one that I threw up, the 40-meter off center fed, and it was on the what I call the test bed, and it was just the rope that I was using, which wasn't meant for any long-term duration. It just gave way because of the weight.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yep.
Well, okay. Well, that's not too bad. I had a question, and I want to encourage friends here. I'll keep an eye on TikTok. I think a lot of people will navigate over to where they can see you guys because that's part of the fun. I think is Michael E1 Echo India 9 Golf Bravo. He asked which model. I made a little video today and put it up on the Tickles and told them what we were doing, that we were going to be here, and they were welcome to join and that sort of thing. And behind me was the I've just moved off the screen, so I brightened up a little bit. He asked me if that was a DX Commander back there, and indeed it was, and what model it was, and kind of how I find it. And I imagine that he means, do I like it, sort of deal. And it's a Signature 9. It's about 29 feet high. And it gives me, what do we got? 6 through 40 there. And I could probably break off and do an 80 meter there. But we've done some testing down here and things get a little hairy with that. So we're going to do 80 meter along the fence. So I can listen to 80. I haven't transmitted on it yet, but good question. And if you guys have one, drop it in the chat. Put a Q in front of it and I'll keep an eye out and we'll look and all that business. So try to help you out with some questions.
How's that DX Commander been working out for you?
Pretty good. I've been spending more time listening to it, and it was fun to build it. A lot of videos about how to build it, and it's kind of like it would be cool to make it with another ham, you know what I mean? And kind of spend the day and maybe get yourself lunch and do the meters and cut the wire and that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of up and down type of stuff. And luckily Steve said to me, and I think you did too, Scotty, was, try to tune one band first and then move from that, and I, maybe I'm not saying that right, because that sounds like you can tune more bands at one time, but I think I was maybe jumping around, maybe I say. And what did you tell me, Steve? Like start with 40.
Start with 40, the longest wire, and then move your way up frequency. So 40, 20, or if you had 30, 17, 15, 12, 10, and just go, because sorry about that.
Oh, I got it too.
There's all the interaction between the elements and stuff like that. So just get your 40 first dialed in, and then 20 will interact with the 40 and so forth and so on.
I want to remind you after this recording, we try to do this. We sometimes the high holidays, sometimes life gets us, and we have to change our times. But right after this recording at 8 o'clock, we'll be doing our Sunday evening net. So you can look for us, I believe, on 40 and 20 meters tonight. If Mitz is
Just
back
40.
in the just 40 tonight, okay, just 40.
Just 40 tonight. Yep.
Right on. So look for us. You can fire your radio up and make contacts. And as Steve always says, we talk about radio for a while and then we go and do it. So that's that.
Do ham radio.
Scotty,
So
what do you?
I'm just monitoring 7200.
Oh, how's
My
that?
headphones. I was like, I'm not going to bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, podcast right now.
Such a fine frequency.
Are you working on anything, you guys? I know, Steve, it's probably too biting cold at the moment, unless you had some emergency thing that would keep you off the air. Are you working on anything or making any plans?
Yeah, I got plans. I just placed an order last week for more ropes, and so Masterin is the ropes I like to use, and I used up all my supplies, so I ordered another 660 feet, 200 meters of it from DX Engineering. So I got to restring. I got to climb the tower. Go figure. Dead of winter. Restring some of the support lines, and then I am going to do a little experimenting with an infed. So I want to play with that. I got a couple of ideas that I want to try out. So we're going to play with that. So I got a new high-powered 9-to-1 Unun on the same order, and some more materials for double bazooka builds and things like that. So I'm just waiting for that order to arrive, and we'll start playing with that.
Excellent.
What about you, Scotty? Are you? I saw on the Discord that you believe you could do an NFED antenna in your attic if you like. What are you thinking?
Yeah. I'm trying out some things. So currently, anyone that's been on the Discord, there's the saga of the danger wires. I had a half-wave end-fed 80 to 10, 132 feet of wire. It was great setup, best possible antenna I could have had at this location. And then the local power company reran the neighbor's power under my antenna, right under the apex. And so I was a little sketchy about that because it could, wire come down anytime. And so I had to took the wire down, and then I'm just using some ham sticks on the little roof I have now. But I've been experimenting with some end-fed shorter so kind of random wires. So I'm playing around with a 29.5 foot with a 9-to-1 on in, and trying various configurations around the attic and zigzagging it around and seeing how that's working out. And so I'm just getting started with that process. I got to figure out the counterpoise situation, and I'm trying to do it all indoors. Maybe throw the counterpoise out the attic window, let it hang on the back of the house or something like that. But yeah, we have some fun with that. And then I think I found a location I could continue my my mag loop experiments up indoors as well, which would be cool because I don't have to worry about weatherproofing the stepper motor that's going to control the capacitor and stuff. I can leave all that stuff open, which would simplify the build significantly if I don't have to build a weatherproof box for everything. So
once you get the proof of concept done, then you can deal with the weatherproofing later.
Yeah, if it works good indoors, I can just leave it in the attic. So
heck yeah,
doesn't need to go outside. So just to get away from the furnace a little bit, but other than that.
There's a question coming from the chat here. It's a hard-hitting news story.
100 watts and a wire news.
This one for you, Scotty, since you spend some time on 7200. Any colonoscopy or prostate conversations on 7200 or higher?
Let's have a quick listen.
We're not being hired here. We're here to enjoy our radio.
Yeah, there we go. It's got some local QRM there too, as you can hear. But no, they're enjoying their radio, as they're saying. I don't know.
All right. Now they may be talking about cramming it in their end, but I don't. At this point, Ricardo.
Out of context, I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't hear enough of that conversation to know if they meant physically or loving
nothing
it.
on the West Coast. Oh wait a minute.
Let's hear it. Let's go to it.
Oh, some drug screening going on?
Drug screening? All right, so we're going East Coast now. We've got Scotty's rig talking about Lovin' Radio. We've gone out to the Pacific Northwest.
What you did was a bunch of substance abusers.
Okay.
So those are the same guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see what I have here in Florida.
Working around a whole bunch of
Oh, he's good strong signal there.
putting everybody's
I'm sure they're right down the street.
Yeah, this guy's he's an S9 easy here on the ham stick.
Because everybody's out there hanging out on the
He's
job
pushing
site,
play.
smoking a bunch of dope, eating a bunch of gummies,
I don't know why that one's stuck.
Oh man.
Okay, well, anyway, that is 7200 Shenanigans stopping in. That's the reporters out there on the street. Again, if you have a question that you would like us to address, anything about life or amateur radio, feel free to put a Q in front of it. We'll grab it out of the chat and go from there. Thank you for that beautiful question, Ricardo. We love to check in and serve the people as much as possible. And speaking of that, I think it's time, Scotty, we kind of need to check in with This Week in Radio History. If you can hit my intro for me, tell the people. You know, it's now, some ballsy thing.
Wait. I gotta look at the script. I'm so out of practice here. And now, This Week in Radio with Christian Kilo Zero STH.
Pretty good. We'll work on that. We are not really prepared for everything. Just kidding. I like to throw
We're
the
rusty.
curveballs. We're definitely rusty. January 1st, 1902, Steve and I were just wee lads. We were in college, actually, at that time. In 1902, when Nathan Stubblefield, our roommate, he demonstrated the natural conduction wireless phone. And we were like, dude, that's the dumbest shit we've ever seen. Can you leave now? That was in Murray, Kentucky. Steve and I were not supposed to go to college in Murray, Kentucky. And we left.
Electromagnetic fields to the ground. I mean, what kind of silly crap is that?
Now, see, his thing, old Nathan, it used a ground rod to conduct signals through the soil to other ground rods that could receive the signal. We thought,
Easy peasy.
beer, prohibition is coming. We got to go. On January 6th, we were still in college. This is this was actually 1838.
Covered time machine, and then we were back in college.
So we want to flip those numbers a little bit.
We spent a lot of time in college.
Yeah, it went back for a different double major. January 6th, 1836, Morse code is privately demonstrated. Again, Steve and I thought, this will never work. And we went down to the mess hall.
Never.
On January 9th, 1943, Nikola Tesla died, and that was, of course, our instructor in the college. And with heavy hearts, we believed that Tesla was right. And that's your Week in Radio History there. Steve, you remember old Nathan Stubblefield.
Oh,
Or was
God,
it
yeah.
Field?
What a wild man.
We're like ground rods trying to lay some pipe.
Like, what are you thinking, dude? What's
Ground rods. What are you hammering those in for? Samuel Morse, he's got that connection to Baltimore, right, Scotty? He did something from, it's Baltimore or something in Maryland to D.C., I believe, was his first transmission, if I'm remembering that, right?
For the railroad, I believe. His first things were from Baltimore to DC along the railroad, and doing Morse code, data information transfer between those 2 points along. Then it used to be B&O. I guess it wouldn't be B&O, but the railroad to run the lines for the telegraph along the tracks there.
Kilo November 6, Romeo Alpha Yankee. He says, hello, fellas. So we want to send our best out to you guys. And a reminder, if you find value in 100 watts in a wire, you have fun with us when we hang out, you can support the content in the community you enjoy simply going to buymeacoffee.com. And this is one of those things that are easy as literally buying a cup of coffee. And when you get there, type in 100 watts and you can support the content you enjoy as easy as a cup of coffee. And who else do we need to say hello to? I thought I had a note there to say hello to someone. But anyway, no new projects here. We hopefully have settled in now that we're into a new year and things are going good. I would like to add some more maybe radials. I think I have weed eated. Here's the thing about the land and the terrain here down in Florida. It's all very easy to dig. It's also just sand, right? So you can dig a nice old trench if you want to and do whatever you want to do. But the earth isn't really craving the wire to pull it down. And I think I have maybe weed-eated one or two and cut off a length or something like that. You know, one of these stupid things. I've pinned them down. You know, I've taken, you know, those sort of biodegradable pins you can get. You can even use metal, I suppose, but I don't know if that's going to give you any issues here or there. But I use the biodegradable ones that sort of go down, and it holds them down. And for the most part, they're disappearing. But from time to time, you know, they're poking up. You step on them, and they want to come up.
I don't imagine the sand would hold the stakes down very well. I can see
they're
them
like
probably
long
migrating
enough.
up.
Yeah, they're not, you know, and a rain will come. So it's a whole different world out here. And we should probably talk about some of our newer friends who may be watching us on the tubes or who joined on TikTok this evening. Steve's out there in his own paradise. He's got space and he's got a tower. I believe you're at 70 feet on one. And what's your other one, Steve? What's your operating
80 on
condition?
one and 40 on the other right now. And then I got another 90 feet sitting on the trailer next to the shop here.
Show off.
Are you going to go up or are you going to add a third?
I'll probably add a third.
Add a third one. Okay. So Steve has some space and he's... What happened?
There we go.
Did you freeze up?
Oh, it kind of locked up in my end.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your audio's still good.
I saw it freeze too. Everyone kind of went... And then there was some fast movement, and then everybody was back.
So just catch up. You know, this is new dance, everybody. And thank you. There's a friend from Germany over on the TikTok. Steven here on the tube says he's KC1QEM. He says that what is that? CO7IG is calling CQ on 20 meters. If you're interested in that, he's 5'9" in Massachusetts. So
I can hear. Where is he at?
Some breaking news over there. Yeah, check out 14289. Maybe we can find out what Charlie Oscar 7 India Golf is doing. Where would that be? Is that like... I don't know where that is. I'm not so sure. Another thing to remind you guys of as you're listening and the fellows are queuing up the radio is check out 100wattsandawire.com. You can get yourself a 100-watt ID. The store's there. Get your gear, like Steve's wearing a sweatshirt right now from the 100 Watts and a Wire store. It all goes to support the essentials for making this podcast happen. Hello from down here in, is that New Zealand? Let's see. We got Zulu Lima 2, Golf United November. Hello. And thank you for joining. We appreciate you. Don't forget to... Oh, it's Cuba. Thank you. Mark Taylor saying that's Cuba. Thank you so much.
289. I was on 259.
Thank
New
you
glasses.
so much. Thank you so much. And we'll be taking and answering some questions tonight. The chat will take precedent. If there's anything that you want to know about life or amateur radio, you got a question about your setup, struggles that you may be having, between the three of us, we'll figure out something to tell you and give you a little bit of hope. But put a Q in front of it and we'll pull it out, so to speak. All right, Scotty, you're up.
Oh,
I mean, nothing important. No. I was just going to see what did you guys find?
Everybody, I kind of got another freeze on my end. Everybody froze. So
the dead air face.
Suddenly it caught up. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I can't hear anything. Nobody's moving.
What happened, Christian? Stop talking. Here. It's just dead quiet. What? Did we hear Cuba? I'm not too far from Cuba. What was that? 14289. I can try it.
So there's Canada.
You're hearing the Cuban station from Steve's radio at the moment. He's like, you guys wouldn't believe. I'm going to translate him. He's like, you guys wouldn't believe what I'm seeing on the tubes. This is amazing. These three idiots.
Yeah. Hi.
Mark Taylor says in a few months I'll be moving to CP6 land, Bolivia.
Nice.
Oh wow.
We'll have space for a 160-meter dipole down there.
Beautiful.
That's some business there.
That'll be nice.
That's good stuff.
Here's how it sounds coming into Southwest Florida tonight. Nothing but static, but hold on.
Sounds great.
We're hearing one side of the conversation. Someone who's very wordy, I guess.
Oh wow. It's like it's like AM station.
I don't know why that's stuck. I'll have to fix that. All right, well, there you go. Do we dare, now that we have some friends joining us on the tubes, do we dare put the key to the door in and have them come in and say hello? Mark Taylor is
Sure,
going to...
why the hell not?
All right, well, I can do it. I can do it here. I'll do it in the live. So what'll happen here, fellas?
I mean,
and
we're flying
ladies?
by the seat of our pants tonight, and
We are.
let's
This
let
is
it all
just...
flap out.
I think this is probably the new format. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the key to the studio here. Now, be careful. You got to go up 4 flights of steps. There is a door with a large dog. And then go up another set of steps with a little person is there. And then he's going to look up at you and say, what's your call sign? Call him Charlie. It's Charlie, for real. No funny business on the call sign. So say hello to Charlie. James will get your question in a second. And if you want to join us, but put your name and your call sign, please. And please be kind. There we go. All right. Well, we'll see what happens here. We do have a question from James. Let's see. He says, do you recommend...
I'm posting it.
Oh, okay. You got it. Go ahead. Do you recommend fusing the positive, negative, or both for powering each of my radios?
Yes.
Especially in a mobile installation.
Okay.
Both.
All right. Both is the answer. Good answer, James. Good answer. Take it to the bank. You can use that. It's good for you. TikTok, if you have any questions, maybe open a browser. Come on over to the tubes side of things, and I'll keep an eye up there where you are as well.
We won't bite.
You're getting a different view of the studio than the folks over on the tubes. Any questions? Put a Q in front of it. We do have some that have queued up here that I can go back on and we can discuss. You want to do some questions? We can do some of that stuff. Let's say hello to John. He's WB4 Alpha Charlie. Charlie, he says, good evening from snowy, where is that? Shenandoah Valley?
Shenandoah Valley in Virginia.
Oh, very pretty, especially
Valley
in the fall. Thank you, John. All
Skyline Drive and all that business.
All right, there's Ricardo. We're going to do a couple questions here that have come in, and we'll answer those. If you have others, either on the tickles, the tickety talks, or on the tubes. Any comments you want to add about the Browns? The sad day that we all learned the Browns is coming.
Not much. There's not much else to say. I just need to go by and give it one last fare thee well, if it's still standing.
The memories. You can sit in the parking lot for a while.
Maybe I'll sneak in and do a POTA activation from what's left of the remnants of the Browns hotel. I'll throw my wire over the fence into the park. So
that's what they used to use as code, fellas, back in 1988. Throw my wire over the fence was code for the glory hole, which I would really enjoy having back here in my studio to show off. And I know there's a lot of stuff. A lot of wire has been thrown over the fence or whatever he said the code was. Yes. There you go. Wah wah wee wah.
Oh my.
Wah wah oh wee wah.
Googly moogly.
So before we take some questions, let's do a little bit of our see if there's any Hamfest. There can't possibly be anything going on this time of year, is there, Scotty?
Well,
Actually,
not much. There's a bunch of Hamfests going on.
Yeah.
There's a couple contests coming up. Not many contests. Next weekend is the National QSO Party CW version. following weekend would be the single sideband version. Then, of course, the weekend of the 25th of January is the ever popular Winter Field Day, which I'm looking forward to. So that'll be fun. And that's really about it for next weekend's contesting stuff.
Oh yeah, I jumped ahead.
Look,
Didn't I?
we also got. That's all right. No, we're good. We're running the Hamfest here. We're at the 39 minute. We can come back to that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Hamfests. I've posted on the Discord in the events channel. There's a bunch of Hamfests going on all across this great land.
Okay, cool.
And,
so there are some things going on. We'll talk about them specifically in a little bit. Let me go back up to the contest. So you mentioned two sides of the same contest. Let's talk about what that means. So the North American QSO party, which is that only CW? What?
Next week in the 11th, I guess 11th and 12th technically, it's the ARRL. Be dipping his toes into that, and then the following weekend, the date escapes me.
Gotcha.
Would that be the 18th? I guess 18th, 19th is the North American QSO party single sideband voice version.
Okay.
So back to back North American QSO parties. One's the Morsey Morse, and the other is going to be the Talkie Talk.
Okay, cool. I'll be playing along with that. On the Talkie Talk side, I'm a no code ham.
The Talkie Talk side, yep.
The Talkie Talk side. There was a Talkie Talk room at the Browns. Oh, I didn't call it that. It was something. It was a whole different room. It was something different. There was also a cuddle room there if you just wanted to be held.
Oh yeah, Ricardo mentioned the Hamcation's coming up in a few weeks down there in Florida. It's close to you, Christian. You should try to make an appearance.
I know it's not very far. I need to check the schedule and go over. Probably it's just across the state, so we should be good to see Ricardo. He's kind of a rock star in that area. I believe he's with that Disney. He's with the Disney Ham Radio Club, I believe. Is that right? You still with them, Ricardo?
Oh,
He used to be.
yeah.
All right, cool. We'll take some questions. We dropped the key to the studio. Remember, be nice to Charlie as you go by. A tap on the head usually is a condescending move to a guy who's kind of short. You know what I mean? But he'll let you up. So take that and bring the key and come in and say hello if you like. We've got some questions that were submitted, and Steve's always good with this sort of stuff because they're on the technical end most of the time. But this one says, why is it bad to call CQ on a repeater?
Oh, to be honest with you, I don't know why they came up with that. People get just bent over it. It's like for folks calling CQ on a repeater, and in reality, you don't. It's you got basically a captive audience there. Whatever in the repeater footprint, and the normal convention is basically you just say you're monitoring, and that's kind of the CQ version. Why it started that way, I don't know. It's I think it comes down to
monitoring.
Yeah, it comes down to is, well, that's an HF thing, and some repeaters, they don't even like you to use Q signals. Well, my QSL is here, or QST, or whatever. They just, it's just, I don't know why, to be honest with you. There's probably something I can go research and figure out why it's not the normal convention, but it just seems to, what I've seen over the years is that people lose their mind when someone comes up and calls CQ. So if you want to ruffle the feathers and, you poke at the hornet's nest, then call CQ on a repeater.
Anything more to add to that, Scotty?
No, it's I think it's just kind of like the convention for some reason. It's you just throw out your call sign to let people know you're there, and instead of calling out. Now I'll call CQ on simplex if I'm if I'm doing like a POTA thing and trying to get some 2-meter or UHF contacts, or during field day or winter field day, and trying to work some UHF stuff, VHF, I'll call CQ on the simplex frequencies. But yeah, it's just something you don't hear on the repeaters. It's something that people don't do, and it's just the kind of the convention for using a repeater. It just kind of seems to be that's the way you do it, and you don't question why.
You know, it was interesting during Milton down here. I was listening mostly to the 2 meter stuff. And up in Tampa, they had a guy who they have, they have a network down here. It's pretty good too. I mean, you can listen to different stations across the state where they all are tuned in and connected in. And this guy was doing weather updates, and it was taken between the hours of whatever the hour started until it would end very seriously. And then you'd have these guys coming through, and they sound like young people. I don't know how you do it, but they sound like a young guy. And they were kind of, QRM. I don't know if that's right, but basically they would ask for radio checks. Can I get a radio check? And they would kind of come in during a time where there's a major storm happening, and the only voice really, the net control operator, was this guy up in Tampa. And he sounded like he had great radio pipes. You know what I mean? He had this, we're getting the precipitation is coming in and the wind flames coming off of the Gulf. And it was really compelling during a kind of scary time. There was this voice who was providing the information to the people. And so I guess just the double piggyback ride in on this one was that, there is sort of a set of etiquette there. And this guy had to a couple times. He even warned to have him threatened and put off the repeater, banned from the repeater. And the guy was basically like, how you going to do that? You know what I mean? It was pretty much like a pissing match here. Kind of disrespectful, definitely during the storm. There were moments where he would ask for stations to give information, but mostly during the days after, like the next morning after that storm went through here. Then it was kind of more of a directed net. You had check-ins and people giving updates on power and that kind of thing. Beautiful, compelling type radio, but there was a good chunk of time where it was one voice only coming out across the repeater. And every now and again, you had these little problems. Can somebody be banned from could you technically keep people off of it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's up to the repeater owner and control operators that will, that can tell somebody that, hey, you are you're no longer welcome. It's their station. It's their equipment. So, I mean, when we use a repeater, we're a guest of the repeater owner and the control operators, and they have the final say so, and the FCC will back them up. I mean, it has been, over the years, the FCC has sent letters to people saying, hey, you have been requested not to use this repeater, and if you continue to use it, then you'll be subject to FCC scrutiny, and so that power. There's you hear the same thing on HF. You'll have a group of guys that will be chit chatting and a little beer clash, a little clash, and people would jump in there and ask for signal reports, and it's kind of like, and these guys would get a little upset over it, and it makes it tough. It's the way I look at it, it's like, would you go up to a group of fellas that were sitting in a coffee shop having a cup of coffee, and there's 4 or 5 guys? Would you just barge on in there and interrupt their conversations? No, that's not polite manners. And the same thing applies here on the radio. So there's a time and place, and guys and asking, hey, how's my signal into the repeater? They might not know, or they want to find out, make sure that they might have some information they want to pass, and they want to make sure that they're copyable into it. So it just depends on the circumstances.
Well, and it seemed like on that day it was more of a challenge. The kid was really kind of being a dick. I'm going to say kid just because the voice sounded a little younger than mine, but at this age now, everything's sounding younger, looking younger. Jesus. Ricardo says the digital modes, you can block call signs from accessing repeaters. This seemed like more of a challenge in like, do it now, go ahead and try it now. I'm going to play with you and annoy you. And all the people that I know, I did not know all the people, but you knew people were listening to this guy because he would come on at certain times with these updates. And this guy, when I'm telling you, I should have recorded a piece of this, his voice was like the authority coming out of like Tampa. And for a minute there, that storm looked like it was trending north to Tampa. The eye actually came over Sarasota. Tampa was affecting a lot of other things, but yeah, that was a weird time to be pushing it. Like, don't you have anything else that you should be thinking of right about now than bugging this guy? But I digress. Thank you for that question, and Steve, thank you for that answer. Here's one that's been resting in an email. It's about coax loss. What is coax cable loss, and how does it affect my signal? Is there an easy way to talk about that?
Well, coax cable loss is it's just your signal is getting attenuated from the point to where you have it hooked up to your transmitter to the antenna. And so if your radio is putting out 100 watts and you have, and I'll just make it easy, a 3 dB of insertion loss or coax loss, then you're only going to have 50 watts available at the antenna to transmit out the air. And the same thing happens on the receive side. So a S9 signal that at the antenna might end up being, an S7 or something. It'll be 3 dB down. So it could be an S8 by the time it gets to your receiver. So the loss is and it's basically generating heat. So that 50 watts that is being lost in your coax is being lost by heat. So it's that's why it's kind of important that you don't want to have too much loss in your cable, because it's not as efficient, and then you don't want to burn up the cable if there's enough of it, depending on the cable. But 50 watts in RG8 is nothing spread over how many feet 50 watts will be attenuated, and it all depends on frequency. So mention to it because it affects both your transmit and your receive side of your station.
All right, thank you for that. We got another one here inside our. Then we'll tell you about those Hamfests we alluded to. Here's one you hear on the radio, and it sounds like a little jokey joke, but do tube radios and amps really heat the ham shack?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You betcha.
In my shack here, I have
does.
Oh yeah, it does. So typically, here's the scenario. A good efficient tube amp is going to be about 60% efficient. So what does that mean, 60%? It means that if you're putting in 1,000 watts of power, you're consuming 1,000 watts of DC current, which goes through the tube, 60% of that is converted to RF energy, which is going to go out your coax. Well, that other 400 watts is converted into heat. Well, where's that heat going? You got a fan in your amplifier that is just blowing warm air into the shack. And this time of year, I love my tube amp. It warms up the shack, makes it nice if I'm operating for a few hours. In the middle of summer, because I don't have air conditioning in the shack, it's a bugger. It's a real bitch. It gets hot.
Dynamite!
So I got to get. Yes. So it's and the same thing happens with solid state amps. But basically, yes, it is a tube amp will definitely heat your shack up in the middle of winter.
All right. I just thought it was your Gordos were rubbing together, kept you so warm during the winter times. But now we know that the amps work as well. Shake up the Gordos, everybody. It's time to stretch it out. It's the 7th inning stretch of 100 watts of wire. You shake your Gordos and warm yourself up inside. Oh, Lord, we got a lot of problems. Let's see. We got some other things we want to tell you about the Hamfest. Scotty's going to come back. I jumped the gun a bit earlier, but he's got some information on Hamfest. I would not believe that there'd be any Hamfest this time of year in the frozen tundra, but you always seem to dig them up.
There's a few going on. I just got a few listed here, like such as the "Don't Freeze Your Ham Off" tailgate Ham Fest happening in Defuniak Springs, Florida. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Defuniak Springs, Florida. I don't know. Don't freeze your ham off. That's happening on the 11th. Also on the 11th is the Arctic Blast Ham Fest in Bertha, Minnesota, up there in Mitz neighborhood. I don't know if he's close to there or not at all.
He's frozen
But
right now.
the Arctic Blast Ham Fest happening on the 11th. And then there's the Thunderbird Amateur Radio Club's having their Ham Fest in Glendale, Arizona. And there's a ton more of Ham Fest happening next weekend. You can
When
you
is
can
the
see a bunch
Glendale?
more happening. The 11th, January 11th in Glendale, Arizona.
January 11th for the one in Glendale. Oh man, no,
Can't make that one?
no.
Missed it
But I'll
by
be in Arizona the first weekend of February. So, damn.
Damn it. Too
Well, you
soon,
have to check
guys.
the events page channel on our Discord server, Steve, and see.
I will.
See what other
Yeah, see
Ham
if there's
Fests
any
maybe
Ham Fests.
come, because I have a bunch listed there for the upcoming week or two, and on the Discord.
Beautiful. Well,
Back
thank
to
you
you,
very
Christian.
much, Scott. Back to headquarters, baby. Well, thank you for the funky music as well. All right, let's see. There's so many good ones here. Ooh, that one's too broad. That one's too broad. That's like saying, why is that guy a douchebag? And it's like, there's no easy answer here. But let me see. Okay, here's one I think we can talk about. And sometimes during contest, it's important. Working split operations. If maybe we talk about that for a little bit, and maybe best practices in working split, and we can maybe give some stories of maybe how not to. This is a little layered here, but Steve, if you want to go and take the first bite out of best practices with working split.
Well, make sure that your radio is set up to work split. So where you're going to run into it is mainly on DX contacts, or DXpeditions is really big into working splits. So, yeah, getting your radio set up and is really important, and listening to the other station. Contest wise, I haven't. The only time I've seen, no, it's not a contest. I mean, it's usually when you have the Armed Forces days. There's kind of working split. Is that you listen to the Armed Forces station and they're outside the ham band, but you transmit on the inside of the ham band, and they do the reciprocal. So that's one way of working split. But typically in the contest, you won't. I haven't seen it, but I'm not saying that it might happen. But typically, working splits is that it was with a DX station or a special event station that you got so many people in the pileup, you just kind of push them off, and then you transmit on whether the DX station is going to be listening. That could be 5 kilohertz up or 10 kilohertz up from their transmit signal, and they're just listening there. So I did put together a video. I made a video on working splits.
Oh,
so
yes, that's right.
we
Yeah.
haven't published it. But it's
Okay,
there in the
we
can.
can do it. We can do it. It's in the can. That sounds great. Okay. KT Money says, "Be a man. Don't work split."
Oh,
Pretty cold. I'm gonna have to shake the Gordos. That is the cold one. KT Money. The redacted call sign. The one thing is boy, this does open up a can of worms a little bit. People running the numbers, not doing the numbers. I think it depends on the size of your DXpedition or this entity, what may be happening. Sometimes it is good to do that and stay, I think when, say Steve and I and Scotty are out on an island and it's, one of the top things, if we're going to run the numbers, what I would like to see is they just stay consistent. Like, I'm going to do 5 7s. Okay. I'm going to do 5 8s. Whatever it's going to be.
yep.
Sometimes it's like a zillion 4s calling and I'm a 0. I'm like, I got to go through 5s and 6 and 7 and 8s and 9s. Sometimes there's not 9s, right? And then sometimes they'll skip a 0 and make me crazy. But I think consistency with the numbers would make me feel cool. Any thoughts on that, you guys?
Oh yeah. You got to stay consistent. So, I mean, it's kind of, if they're staying consistent, say they're going to work 30 minutes of each call district, then, you're a 0 and they're sitting on the 4s right now. Well, you can pretty well time it out. It's like, well, it's going to be a couple hours. Well, I'll go do something else. And then, come back and say, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it takes before you think they get there. And then you come back and it's like, oh, okay, they're working 9. So you can get ready and, come to the 0s. The problem becomes is when the operator starts working, if you're working 4s and then someone from 6 land comes in and you answer them, you can get away with it once, twice, the third time, then the whole pileup is just gone. Your credibility is now shot, and you have to, as the operator, you need to stay with what you're doing and stay consistent, and that way everyone feels that, hey, they're going to get a fair shot at you and go from there. It's when you start bouncing back and around and you're just you're working 4s and here comes a 7 and you work them, and then a little while later an 8 comes
Then it's
in,
a feeding
you work them,
frenzy.
and then it just comes just a feces show.
You can say it. Go ahead and say it. It'll make you feel better. Well,
I'm trying to be nice for the tiki-takis.
Yeah, I got you. Speaking of, Samuel is there. Kilo Oscar 4, United Yankee Papa. Hello there. We are also on the tubes. You can see the fellows there. I know you're listening, and I appreciate that. That does bring up a good point about operators. You hear these guys from time to time. Now, if I set up on an island or something, I'm gonna let my boys know, right? I'm gonna be like, I might even call for Steve. I might even call for Scotty. Before I start anything else, I may call for them, make that contact, get them in the book. You hear this sort of thing happens as well. You hear DX entities will say, "Oh, Charlie, whatever," and they make the contact, and then they kind of move on. We're talking about consistency. We're talking about how split works. So essentially, you're listening on one frequency and calling on another one. And as a couple of our friends have said here on the Tubes chat, they've made this mistake of not listening long enough to know that they are working split. And so what happens is you end up calling, and of course the station's never going to hear you because they're listening on a different frequency, which you should be calling on. Yeah. And I think that's where it introduces the band police. Scotty, talk about the band police for a second.
Oh well, let's just. Ricardo mentioned it in the chat. It's like everyone starts yelling, "Up 5, up 5, up 5." If you're calling on the opposite frequency of the split, and the split's cool. I haven't worked split as the person that's desirable to talk to, but certainly work split trying to get folks, and it's kind of fun. It does take a little bit of practice to kind of get used to the fact that you're listening on one frequency, but then you got to go to another frequency to actually, or gal. And there's a lot of rigs these days. If I'm trying to do that on my old FT 101, I'm turning either using if he's close enough, maybe I can get away with using the RIT, but I'm turning the crank and then back and forth. But most radios these days will have a dual VFO where you can have one set up to listen on the one frequency and then have the other VFO set up to transmit, and then you can tell your radio to operate split, and so you key up, it automatically switches to the other VFO for the transmit, and you unkey and automatically switches back to the other VFO for the monitoring, and that makes it pretty easy to deal with once you figure out that that's what's going on. Part of the fun for me is trying to figure out how far the split is, and this is where I find having like an SDR or a sort of or a pan adapter for your radio, so you can see a waterfall. You can kind of see where the split might be happening. If if you're just getting into it and haven't figured it out yet, it can make it pretty easy to see. Okay, he's up 10 or he's down 10 or whatever, and that can make it easier to kind of get yourself set up to work that split and then try to get the contact.
Our friends, I want to make another point on this, but real quick, we are hearing Mitz, who is net control operator on 40 meters, looking at 7211. The frequency sounds clear at the moment. If you want to get tuned up to 7211 now at the top of the hour, our listeners here, podcast listeners who are listening in after the after the matter. We will do the podcast for an hour, then we go over to the radio at the top of the 8 p.m. Eastern time. But we've got 7210 queued up at this point. Hello to Samuel. Thanks for coming over. Kilo Oscar 4 United Yankee Papa is now from the tickety tick ticks over to the tubes. We appreciate you there.
Hey.
Steve, an interesting point. I can't remember right off. I mean, North Korea has not come on in my lifetime to be available for me to chase. I cannot imagine what that's going to be like on the day North Korea, the number one DX entity of all time, comes on. But alas, it hasn't. Some of these stations, like Scotty mentioned, some of them will float. Like, you'll hear the band police say, he's 5 up. He's 10 up, dumbass. You know, if you call on that frequency you're not supposed to call on, you might get yelled at. But some of these guys, they move. They're 7 up. They're 10 up. They're usually usually within 10 maybe, but not always. And it's a real trick. I mean, it's talk about that, Steve. That's a lot of fun, and it can be frustrating, but that moving target is a real thing sometimes.
Yeah, so they will what's commonly referred to as spreading out the pileup. And so what that does is that a DX entity will say, okay, and it goes from operator to operator. Some will just say, I'm going to listen 5 up. Others will say, I'll listen 5 to 10. Others will even go 5 to 15. And then what they do is then they kind of start at at 5 up. They work a station, and then they kind of move their receive up a little bit, go to the next one. They kind of work their way up. And sometimes they go back down to the bottom and then start their way back up. Or they go up, then back down. Some just bebop around. And that's where kind of, well, as Scotty pointed out, the pan adapter, or if you're listening on the pileup where everybody's transmitting, you have to figure out the pattern. So each operator has their pattern. So, and then you try to anticipate it and try to get in there. Sometimes you nail it, sometimes you don't. That's part of the chase of finding that. So you don't have to. So while you're working a DX entity, you leave your transmitter, which is on, say, VFO-A or B as your transmit frequency, or your receive frequency. I go VFO-A is my receive frequency. And then I select VFO-B, and I'll go figure out where I anticipate the DX entity to be, or to be listening. And so that's that it's a cat and mouse game. It's a big game, and then trying to figure out their pattern. One of the other things that I have seen over the years with operators is not saying enough that they are listening, 5 up or 10 up, or 5 to 15, 5 to 10. And that's when you start having the band cops get in there, and people, they just don't know. They hear it. And one of an operation not too long ago, one operator was really, really good. Like every other time he said his call sign, he said listening 5 to 10 up, really reduced the amount of band cops and yelling at people. Occasionally, people were, calling on their transmit frequency, but you didn't have the others, the helpers, trying to help them out, because he was saying it enough. And if they were paying attention and listening, then they kind of clued in on that. Hey, he's listening, 5 kilohertz up from where he's transmitting. And so it's a two-way street. And but it comes down to the DX entity and how they manage the pileup. And good management of the pileup makes it go really smooth and they produce the numbers. And that's why they're out there. They want to make the contacts just as badly as you want to make the contacts. So it's this two-way street, and we got to cooperate and try to make it happen. But it is a cat and mouse game.
Beautiful. Wonderful question, too. Ricardo says, with a waterfall display, I look for a clean area within the listen spot and transmit there. So good Good advice there, Ricardo. Split operation. That's a good one. I look forward to seeing that video. We'll have to get that up there. Steve's
Yeah.
double bazooka build video, by the way, guys, on the YouTube is like the #1 video. Certainly on our channel it is, but it's so damn good. I miss my double bazoozoos. In fact, I have an 80-meter double bazoozo on the fence. It's not very high, but it is great. And Steve's build is spot on. I
But
would
it's
check
plenty
it.
wide.
It's plenty wide. Yeah. And yep. So there you have it. There is a question from Greg. He says, should I start keeping my Sunday evenings open? This is not related to the Browns silent key thing, but yes, Greg, we know that you need your Sundays with the boys so you can get out and go to your Browns. Yes, no, just kidding. You should plan to hang out with us because we're trying to get on the regular together. We just have too much fun. That's all. It's about 8 o'clock.
Trying to get back in the saddle, baby. Back
It's
in the
about
saddle.
8. I don't know if Mitz is actually on. Let's see if I can spot his voice here in Florida. I don't always hear him well. You guys might have to pull him up. Let's try Florida first.
Yeah, he's up there.
And our friends on the Tickety Talk, we're going to be shifting. Turn your radios now
He's on
to 7211.
7211.
7211, you guys. Join us over on the tubes. We record an hour podcast. It'll go off to audio, and then we go do the radio.
Yeah. We make comments from the peanut gallery here during the net. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're gonna hang out a little bit. If you guys are free, we can do that. What happens is we usually turn the volume up on the net. The three of us old boys will go and take a pish because because you know when you get there, when you put it in, you gotta let it out, and it's sooner when you get older. You guys understand on the Tickety Talks. So what we'll do now is we'll pause. Right, we'll pull up the feed. I don't know. Maybe you guys have a better feed than me. You got anything better than this?
I do not. I got some local QRM that sounds like this. Oh,
I think
little
I
bit,
got
little
some-
noisy.
Yeah, Steve sounds pretty good. Sometimes I don't always get Scott.
Unfortunately, I think I got
Yes.
some activity like 2 up.
Okay, well, we'll leave mine on. Me and the boys will go pish, and we'll come back and catch you in just a few minutes, okay? Thank you for joining us, our podcast listeners. We appreciate and love you. Subscribe on all of the socials, and we will be back with some net coverage in just a little bit. And for you too, Tickety Talk.